Welcome back, everybody. I am here giving my review, both non spoilers and then spoilers, of Ghostbusters Afterlife. So, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to break it down into categories for both spoilers and non spoilers, and give my thoughts on the movie itself. What did I like? What did I did or what didn't I like? It's sort of going to be like the versus streams I do on Tuesdays. So just bear with me. And first, I will be doing non-spoiler review first, and then I will have a thing on the bottom saying spoilers or non-spoilers. So just bear with it. So before I get started, I do want to say thank you to everybody who has helped. I finally reached 4K hours who have helped my channel and whatnot. Um, this has been a great journey. So I'm looking forward to continuing it. I still am trying to get to 2,000 subs. So if you guys can help me out there, that is most appreciated. If you like this content, I will also be streaming on X as well. If you don't want to go with YouTube, that or you could find me on X. So with that being said, let me break this down. Basically, how I'm going to be covering this. Well, first I'm going to be doing non-spoilers, which I will have the ticker there, or I will have the spoilers when I do the spoilers. So right now, I'm only going to be doing non-spoiler review, and then when I am done with with the non-spoilers, I will go to spoilers. So basically, we're going to be looking at things. Let's get over here, like story, cast, writing, pacing, editing, effects, acting, and music. So that's basically what we're going to be looking at. Now, we will start with story. And before we do, I just got to finish up a little small type thing here. So we are starting with story. Now, with non-spoiler, hey, Junebug, good to see you. With the non-spoilers, story is going to be pretty easy. The trailers basically gave it all away. Not so much all of it, but gave away much of it. Or essentially, the Ghostbusters are back in New York. There is a situation that occurs which causes a frozen entity or an entity of ice to come to New York and wreak havoc. So the Ghostbusters basically have to get into it with or get giddy with the ghost and basically find a way to stop this one. And it is no easy task. I did like how the story progressed. It gave there is a small origin without going too much into spoilers. There is a small origin of this ghost. There is an explanation of what the ghost was all about, what or and such. There's been a lot of let's see here. There's been a lot of problems a lot of people had with a certain character in this movie. I think that it was kind of stupid that they did, to be completely honest. And I will maintain that belief because it's like, oh, he's in it, so I'm not going to watch it. It's like, are you serious? Do you even know how long he's going to be in the film? Do you even know what kind of role he's going to have in the film? And yes, folks, it was Patton Oswalt's character. So, yeah. So before we get to that, people were all upset with Patton Oswalt being in the movie, and it's like, I'm going to watch the movie to see if my issues with Patton Oswalt is going to really make any sort of difference in this film. And honestly, they don't. They really don't. They bring you to places that were or are familiar to us all. You get a lot of member berries. You also get a lot of nostalgia in this film. I think that this film does a good job at telling the story. However, some of the story does does kind of fall short in some areas. I think overall, when it does come to a non-spoiler bit, this story is very, out of 10, I would put story at a 7. Hey, how's everybody doing? I see, haven't seen it yet. So I don't know, so you know I don't mind spoilers. I'm going to be seeing it next weekend with Dad for Easter. Nice. How you doing, Darth Zathra? Good to see you. Good to see you. And it's okay that you're late. That's fine. I don't mind. So yes, story is 7 out of 10. Now, cast, which I will be bringing up, seeing how this is what some people were bothered by. Now, we have McKenna Grace, and we have a lot of the old cast, or the cast from the old and the new. And I got to say, I'm really not at all bothered by the cast, including Patton Oswalt, because without spoiling what his character is all about, his character isn't a main character in this film. So his involvement doesn't bother me at all. Patton Oswalt may be a jackass in real life and say some stupid stuff in real life, but in this movie, he served his purpose. That was it. Honestly, I saw no fault in his acting. He's a good actor for as brief as his acting is. Emily Allen Lind. God, why does that name sound so familiar? She looks familiar too. I almost mistaked her as what's her name, Jenna Ortega. You also got the original 3 Ghostbusters. Then you got the new family: Finn Wolfhard, Carrie Coon, McKenna Grace, and they even brought back Logan Kim and Paul Rudd. So you have all of them back as well, and you even have Walter Peck. In the spoilers, he was in the trailer, so it's no spoiler that he is there. We also have Lucky in this movie, plus a few other new faces, but we also have Janine Melnitz. Annie Potts came back again. So yes, they had a good cast in this movie. It's the same cast essentially with a few new faces: Patton, Kamal Nanjiani, and James Acaster, as well as Emily Allen Lind. So other than them, you get a nice little or you get the old, you get the new, and plus you get a little bit newer. So honestly, the cast in this is about the same as I would do for the cast for the third one. I would say the cast is 8 to 9 out of 10. You got good actors there. Finn Wolfhard, his work on Stranger Things has helped his acting in a movie like this. Yes, that is a good that's a good question. Am I choppy for everyone else? If so, I do apologize. I am streaming on 2 things, so it's probably because I was on the other. It was probably because I was on the other window. If that is the case, I can also close these other windows that I'm not using right now. Let me know if the audio has cleared up. And hello, Fucknars. Good to see you. Is that better, Darth Zathra? Let me know. So, moving on to the next one, or category, we have writing. Now, again, folks, writing is more than just it's more than just the writing of the dialogue. You also have to have story writing, which you are laying out the description of scenes and the story itself. It's a lot wider spectrum. How the actors grow, character growth, all that stuff is part of the writing. And in this case, the writing is decent. However, there is a lot more things that have to be explained in this movie. You are dealing with new ghosts in this movie as well as some old ghosts. So you get that you have to have a little bit explained here and there. And they do a good job showing that these things are either a menace or less of a menace. And I think that this movie actually did a good job with the writing, explaining a few things about characters, showing characters, and whatnot. I believe that they explained a very good deal of how and why certain characters are affected by certain things. Certain ghosts are not affected by certain things and how they are affected by certain things without going into spoilers. I also feel that the writing clarified a few issues as well. So the writing I would put at about an 8.5 out of 10. So, let me get my calculator up here on my thingy here. Let's see here. Calculator. So first did a 7.5 for the story. I did a 7.5 plus the other one was about an 8.5 plus the writing I put at about an 8.5. So the next category is, let me get over to the banners. Pacing. This is where the movie had issues. The pacing is a problem. They are explaining, or there is a lot in this film. I feel that they could have spruced it up a little bit more. It is a slow slog, or it is a slow paced movie, folks. This movie is kind of starting over here and moving this way. It's blip, 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 and then it starts to climb the further it goes over. So overall, the pacing is a problem because this movie does have a slow build and a slow burn until it finally gets into the climax of the film. There is a nice little bit at the beginning to give you some excitement, but then it's a very slow burn across the way. Then stuff starts building, and it builds into a climax that is very good, but still needed a little bit of work. So pacing, I will put at a 6.5. And that's me looking at it objectively. The pacing had its problems. Editing is our next category. And I gotta say, when it comes to editing, the editing of this film was actually very well done, with a few problems with the cinematography, because when you do things like cinematography and editing, or that's basically a part of editing as well, they had cinematography shots that shook the hell, that was like this. And it's like, are you freaking kidding me? there are like 2 or 3 shots where the camera was shaking that was kind of taking me out of the scene a little bit. And it's like, fix your damn camera. What the hell is wrong? Why would you guys do that with these shots? There's no reason to have unsteady shots here. Where's the steady cam? So yes, when it comes to editing, they should have had better shots, or there's a couple shots that they need to work at. So there's definitely an 8 out of 10 with the with the editing. Special effects and not special, but practical effects and special effects. So the effects in this movie I thought was very good. They did some practical effects with invisible bits, things here, there. They had some CGI that was good, some CGI that was not so good. The CGI that was not so good was, I believe you saw in the beginning of the movie, or in the beginning of the, or some of the trailers, is a blue dragon that they called the Hell's Kitchen Sewer Dragon. That thing was terrible effects. You also had a few others that were not so good with the effects. And then you also had things that were actually very good with the effects. I thought that the Frozen Empire, the Frost King, what's his name? Couldn't remember his name to save the life out of me. So, yeah. I thought that the effects covering him was actually very well done. This movie brought back a good horror element to the movie, because if you pay attention to how the Ghostbusters movies are, you got Ghostbusters, which is horror / comedy, meaning the horror element is the first element, then the comedy is sprinkled in. The second one is comedy, and then the horror element. The third one was, again, comedy, then the horror element. And this one was horror / comedy again. So I do like that they actually brought back that comedy. They returned it back to horror and gave us a more scarier bit here. So the effects, I think, were very good for the most part, except they slipped in other areas. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the special effects are about a 7.5 in this movie. Now, going on to the acting. With the writing and the acting, the acting of McKenna Grace has improved. I thought she actually did a very good job with it. McKenna Grace has been acting since, I think she's been 5 years old. She I remember seeing her in CSI, and I then saw her in the first Captain Marvel movie. She played Carol Danvers as a kid, and then she played in this movie, or in Afterlife, and then this movie. Those are the only 4 things that I remember seeing McKenna Grace in, and I think that she is actually a good actress. I think that she really does a good job with the character of Phoebe Spangler, and I think all the other actors do a wonderful job with their characters as well, especially the Ghostbusters, who are actors, Ernie Hudson, Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray. I think that they dive right back into it and do a very good job. They have a slightly bigger role in these movies, or in this movie. And so when it comes to the acting, I thought that the acting was actually pretty good. You have some of the newer faces who could learn to tighten it up a little bit. That Joe Acaster character, who played Pinefield in this movie, one of the nerds, he could have been a little bit better, but overall, I would give him an 8 out of 10 in acting. I haven't seen him in anything else, so I can't really dive off of his IMDb. So when it comes to the acting, I would say that it is a solid, or more of an 8.5. So moving on to the music. Music is 10. They are using the old score, and they did a good job with a little bit of new stuff mixed in. I think that they did a great job with the music. It captures the heart of Ghostbusters as it did before, and I really enjoyed it thoroughly. Um, hearing the when you hear the Ghostbusters theme, it just if you were a kid of the 80s and 90s growing up, that song got you moving. Even if you're in a seat watching a movie or watching a Ghostbusters films, your feet are moving. Your feet are going to the beat. And that is one of the wonderful things about Ghostbusters. Is that it always keeps your feet moving or it keeps you moving. Hey, how you doing? Cayman Rider. Hey, bro, I just got out of PAX East. Okay, good. All right. I don't know what that is, but cool. Toodle say, good to see you. How you doing, Toodle say? Davian Donaldson, thank you for coming in. Thank you. Hello, Orange. Hope you're okay. I'm going to watch this film tomorrow after going to the comic book shop to buy some Arrow video Blu-rays. Nice. On my way to Dune Part 2 IMAX. Okay, have fun, dude. Bustin' me. You feel good. Yeah, exactly. And yes, fuck Norris, I am aware of the double entendre there. So moving on to or is there another category? Oops. Nope, there is not. So out of those categories, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so equals divided by 8 equals. So objectively speaking, after taking down the averages and whatnot, I would put Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, objectively speaking, at an 8.1. And 8.1 is not a bad score, considering there are issues with this movie. There are things that could have been done a little bit better. You have some cinematography that could have been a lot better in a couple scenes. So yes, overall, I think that this movie did a good job. Now, going on to spoilers next, folks. If you do not want any spoilers discussed, I encourage you to leave the stream. I will be talking about a few things in this movie that are spoilery. I may not go into super spoilers, but some of the stuff that I am going to be discussing is spoilery. So with that out of the way, let me go to the banner and put up these spoilers. If you have not left, you have been warned. I am getting into spoilers now. So getting back into and thank you, Riot Kitty. Nowadays, 8.1 is a good score for a movie. Yeah, it's about an average movie nowadays. So one of the things I did like is some of the member berries in this film. You got the little Stay Puffs from the last movie, yes. You also, there is a stinger in the credits, which is nice. That shows some of the mini Stay Puffs with a truck that has a very known or a very well-known logo in the Ghostbusters universe. And Geek Detective Pierce, good to see you. Some of the member berries is from the New York Library, where you have the lions. And I like the scene at the library where one of the lions does come alive. That's actually in the trailer, so it's not too much of a spoiler. But you also are brought back to one of the OG ghosts from the Ghostbusters franchise, which one of the OG ghosts is actually the first ghost in the Ghostbusters franchise. If you're at the New York Library, you know they didn't catch the lady or the pink lady. And we get a shot, or we get a little bit of her in this movie, which is nice. You even get the original actor who was at the library, the head of the library, and he's much older now, but it's also good seeing him stop it or in the movie as well. Kumail Nanjiani's character in this movie is sort of, or he is kind of a MacGuffin kind of person who brings the MacGuffin in, and then the MacGuffin becomes less, but he also sort of becomes a MacGuffin himself. It kind of delved into the wacky in with his character, which was nice, but also it did kind of make it a little bit too silly. Him being a fire lord and all, it's like, dude, this is an Avatar. You know, I mean, it's kind of like Ghostbusters meets Avatar in this bit, or with his character, and it really kind of is weird. Him being a fire lord and all, so I did kind of think that that was odd. We see we see what happens with a full containment unit that is overflowing. We see a couple other ghosts who are, well, human. We see a human ghost in this movie. Not Harold Ramis. So that was nice. My biggest, or I really think that my biggest gripe with this film is the whole Fire Lord thing, because it's like, I understand you need to bring in some sort of counter to it, but it did kind of get wacky, because you got to tone it down when you're doing a comedy or a horror / comedy. You got to make sure that the comedy doesn't overtake the horror element. You had Ghostbusters 1, the original Ghostbusters, horror / comedy, where they had some good humor sprinkled throughout, did a good job, but it was mostly a horror story. In this one, you had some good horror, and it was more 50-50, where the original Ghostbusters was more 70-30. 70% horror, 30%, maybe 60-40 of comedy, of 70 or 60% horror, 40% comedy. This one was more 50-50. However, it was more of a horror take, and I did like that, especially with the Frost Empire. Funny thing, we all know that GXK, Godzilla Kong, the new Empire, is coming to theaters next month or next week, and I find it extremely funny that the antagonists in both movies that had the name Empire opening in the same month happen to have ice antagonists. Because everybody knows that Shimo is the Titan in the next movie, and it's an ice Titan. I mean, they showed it all throughout the marketing. And it's called the New Empire, or this one's called the Frozen Empire, and it's like, huh, that's interesting. But yes, for the most part, I thought that was actually an interesting coincidence. But there was a worry that this film was going to slightly delve into the identity politics and making a character gay for whatever reason that we had no idea. Now, if she would have turned out gay, it's like, hey, it's the 2020s at this point. I really don't care. And they didn't really push it out there. So I don't think that the character is gay. I wouldn't have a problem if she was. However, I do think that it would have just been put in, and I'm glad it wasn't. They had an opportunity to do it, but they didn't. Now, I guarantee you, folks, I guarantee you that the LGBTQ community will complain because they didn't. Now, the character is McKenna Grace. She is making friends with a human ghost who happens to be female and whatnot. And they both are 15, 16 years old. And well, the way that they're talking, their body language suggests there might be more than just an emotional connection between the two characters. Well, there is a situation that allows McKenna Grace to become a ghost. And so it's like, okay, are they going to do this, whatever they're about to do? Are they going to freaking just make him kiss? Because if they are, no. I don't think it needed to happen. But they didn't. And that's actually, to me, that was actually, it's like, okay, they could have gone there, but they didn't. And I appreciate that. They stuck to the story. They didn't take time out of the story to push that little bit in when they absolutely could have. When they absolutely freaking could have, they didn't. And I am so glad they didn't, because in reality, geniuses, characters who are geniuses, do not have the emotional attachment or the emotional nuance to really enter in an emotional relationship with somebody. So I am kind of glad that they didn't do that. And that was actually well done, in my opinion. So it's a nice little setup. Maybe in a future movie they might go there, but she's 15 in this movie. Let her be a kid, you know? She's a genius, and that is a part of the story where she is actually sidelined due to laws and whatnot. And so there are actually good laws put in place that you don't, or that you endangering welfare of a minor, or child labor laws and whatnot. They actually bring some of that stuff up in this film. So I think that it's actually quite funny how they actually do that. And so she has to be sidelined because of that very reason. However, in this movie, McKenna Grace's character, Phoebe, is actually kind of unlikable. She's going through that mid-teen angst that all teenagers go through, including the girls, as much as the boys. She's at that kind of teenage rebellion phase. And I do like how Paul Rudd, in one scene, he is a kind of father figure for them because he's going out with Carrie Coon, their mother and whatnot. He actually steps up. He's like, "You watch your mouth. That is your mother. You do not talk to her that way." So it's like, damn, dude, that's a good scene that they put in there. A stable family kind of environment. The balance of a mother and father figure. I really do like how that was put in, and it's not shoved in your face. However, it is shown that that is an actual good shot. We get Slimer in this film. I like that Slimer was in the film. However, I'm disappointed at how they treated him. Slimer has always been a part of the Ghostbusters. I wish that Slimer was, or in the second movie, we know that he is living at the firehouse. He still is living at the firehouse. I will say this all the time when when I talk about Ghostbusters, especially 3 and 4, Afterlife and Frozen Empire. They should have had, at the end of Afterlife, when Ecto-1 was going back into the firehouse, they should have had Slimer or coming through the wall to look to see what was going on. I mean, he's living in the firehouse. You'd think that he would want to see what's going on, you know? So him basically just being in here for member berries, I wasn't really a fan that it was just for that purpose. Or it would have served a better purpose if they actually showed him being a part of the team, not being on the sides of the ghosts, because he is actually a part of the Ghostbusters team. Is sort of their mascot. And I really do wish that they had actually had more of a Slimer, or that Slimer would have had more of a role in this, because honestly, I feel cheated. I feel that Slimer could have been a lot better with that role, or with his role in this film. Oh, believe me, angsty hormonal teenage girls are far worse than boys. I had fraternal twins, and my daughter was way harder to deal with than her twin brother at that age. Yeah, Toodle say, at this one, you have a teenager who accidentally triggers a end of the world scenario because she thinks that she is smarter than everyone else. This is actually a good movie in a way that it's not so identity politics or woke or anything like that. However, you have a female character that has to learn the hard lessons. Yes, she is a genius. Yes, she is the smartest person in the room. Yes, she flaunts it a little bit and also throws it at her mother and at Paul Rudd's character and whatnot. She kind of just is not doing as she says or she's told. And it's because of that that leads to the big problem in the film, which is that Frost guy. Now, I can't remember the Frost guy's name. They should have just called him the Frost King or whatever. It would have made sense. But yeah, I think that she having to deal with that and actually get her ego checked at the door was actually very good. It's actually showed that that it gives a good, proper character growth. So yeah, I really do like how they did that. Now, there's also the fact in this movie, packs don't work on the Frost King. So they had to adapt in order to stop this Frost King. Yes, they put in the MacGuffin Fire Lord thingy, but they also had to go elemental in a way, or in periodic table of elements, where their proton packs, or there was a component in the proton packs that needed to have a slight change to it. I'm not going to get into the overall arcing of it, but it's because she actually had the fortitude to think of it that causes her to have an advantage over this Frost King character. The Frost King himself, man, I really do think was very well designed. I do enjoy how dark his character was and is in this film. However, the biggest problem I do have, there was a situation where a character that is in the movies could have easily been killed off. However, plot armor frickin' made it or came in the clinch and spared the character's life. There could have very much been a character death in this movie, which could have led to a good, proper vengeance kind of moment to give everybody the upper hand, but they didn't go that route. I feel that when you are doing a PG-13 movie and you have high stakes like end of the world, you are very much restricted by plot armor, especially when it does come to characters of color or representation or whatnot. And that is all well and good. To me personally, I do not think there was any wokeness in this film. And believe me, I was watching for it. I didn't see it. However, I do think that characters, if they are put in a situation where they could have easily been killed by a very malevolent deity king or deity character, that character should have essentially proven just how dangerous it is and killed that character. And I feel that not doing that kind of cheapened the film a little bit, because it shows that there was too much plot armor in the film. There should have been a main character death in this film. They did it in the last one with Egon. They could have done it again in this film. They didn't go there. There were no stakes, unfortunately. Like the elemental table was the solution in evolution. Yeah, in a way, yes. A metal element in this film is important. Walter Peck's character, he is still such a dick, man. But I just wish that he got blasted with or splooged on by another big old whop of a melted marshmallow. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen to him in this film, but he is after the Ghostbusters. Harry Potter went there and it was PG-13. Yes, Toodle say, but it was also extremely part of the story that was undeniable that they couldn't exactly change. So yeah, they went there, but they did it in a way that you couldn't change that in that story. In this movie, you could have changed it. You could have changed it, yes, because the character really didn't provide that much afterward. She was there and she could have easily been killed and it wouldn't have changed the story at all. It really wouldn't have. So I do feel that there was a sort of cheat there, you know? And it's not because she's a character of color. It's not because she's a woman or anything. It's the lucky character, folks. She could have been killed in this movie, and it would have actually probably been like, oh shit, there's actual stakes in this film, you know? Or because when you are doing a horror film, you need to have stakes. You need to have, or you can't have too much plot armor in a horror film. And this movie is a horror/comedy. So by having all the characters live, it doesn't really work. You need to show that there is a death count in this film. You need to show that, yes, even as a family film, people need to be exposed to the concept of death. And I feel that that would have actually made the movie a little bit better. And yes, her character should have been put on the chopping block. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. So yes, there is a spoiler there. Overall, I think that the movie does have a climax that kind of climaxes a little too fast. You reach the end of the movie where it's the big finale battle and whatnot. I feel that it was a little bit compressed with time, but I still do believe that it was well done. It wasn't extremely well done, but it was well done. I liked that Frost King character. I thought that it did good. However, there was a little bit of a pause stuff in the battle, and I felt that was kind of stupid. So, he does kind of get it, just not in the way we would like, Toodle say. He does kind of get it, but not in the way we'd like. Let's just say that. Let's just say he might not be winning any elections anytime soon because, yeah, he is of a different organization than the EPA. So, that being said, this movie has its ups and downs. I think that it did overall very well. It is a movie that kind of drags a little bit at the beginning, has a nice little high adrenaline moment, but then it drags through until we get to the crux of the film, and then the build up, and then the climax. And I thought that that would be I thought that the build up and the climax were actually the better part of the film. Character growth in this movie could have been a little bit better with Finn Wolfhard's character. Phoebe's character did have a proper growth and proper journey in this film. Being too high strung and hopped up on ego, they do a good job in this film at showing the dangers of a very big ego. So yes, they show how humility should be a little bit better, and respect should also be a bigger factor. You get some good gadgets in this, folks. You get some good signs. You get some good member berries. You get some good nostalgia. Overall, subjectively, I put Frozen Empire at a 8.5 out of 10. It could have been a little bit better. It needed stakes. It didn't have stakes. It needed stakes, and that's why it gets a full point off. The 0.5 is due to the pacing and the overall silliness. So half a point contributes to the kind of weird silliness as well as the pacing. So 8.5 is my subjective. I do recommend that people actually go and see this movie. It could have been better. Yes, it could have. However, there is or there's a lot that is valued in this movie. It's a good story that shows how ego can lead to ruin if you are not careful. And I think that that is something that could have easily been, or that has not been done enough lately. There's too much ego in the world. And with a little bit more humility, I think that the world can learn a lot more lessons and truly progress in a way that's not regressive. Anyway, folks, that is going to be the video. Thank you to everybody who was watching on X, and thank you to everybody who was watching on YouTube. Toodle say, Right Kitty, Darth Zathra, Davian Donaldson, Cayman Rider 64, Fuck Norris, and Vanya, and Junebug. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for tomorrow or Tuesday, folks. It's Deadpool versus Deadpool 2 for the ones versus twos. And next month for the singles is, or with Mara, The Accountant and From Paris with Love. So, I will be doing, or Mara will be deciding on what the ones and twos for April will be. I will let her tell you guys what it is. Or for when we get there. Until then, folks, I will try to get some more content out for you. I will be watching Godzilla Kong on Sunday. So next Sunday, I will be doing another live review that will be like this. It will be spoiler or non-spoilers, then spoilers, and it will go through the objective quality of the film throughout. So with that said, thank you so much to everybody who was in the chat. You are all freaking great, especially police egos are crazy. Yeah, some police egos are, but that wasn't a situation in this movie. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. Y'all are freaking awesome, folks. Thank you so much. And make sure to spread my channel out, share my channel out. If you do like my content, feel free to subscribe to it. Turn on the bell for notifications. I'm trying to get to 2,000 subs before the end of the year. Maybe 3,000 if I'm lucky. That is the goal. 2,000 is the goal, but 3,000 would be appreciated. Anyway, folks, thank you so much for tuning in. You guys are all freaking awesome and amazing people. And stay tuned for Tuesday and other content that comes out. Anyway, folks, this has been Orange Hat. Y'all have a wonderful day. And always remember to stay humble. And also remember that lovely song, who you're going to call Ghostbusters. Peace.